And we're back with some more Dyson Sphere Program. And had a few complications with the PC recently, so this is not as complete as I would like it just yet. But we definitely did get a little bit of construction work done in the background. And right now we're just doing a little bit of fine-tuning to try and improve performance. The first thing we can do is turn off the Dyson Sphere again. Yeah, we can't keep that thing on. You start showing that in game and you start having serious problems. Another thing as well is that we have done is I have removed the free solar sails. It removes all the free residual solar sails that are floating around the place. It means we have less of them in orbit, which means less of them are taking up our time, or processor cycles. Now in here you can see these little Dyson swarms. This is basically leftover solar sails that should have went into the Dyson Sphere, but can't because there's no space for them. In fact, our absorption rate has gone down because we actually have finished a few panels. Like all these panels along here are done. These are the smallest panels. And the solar sails have filled in all of those. Also, they've been there the longest, so there's the most solar sails that have gone into them. There's still plenty of solar sails being absorbed, but less than before, so it's going to take longer to hit our goal. Getting all the way to 100% completion is not going to be necessary, it turns out, because, okay, let's just do some basic numbers here. Currently, we're requesting 2.59 terawatts. And the reason we're requesting that, this planet here is basically crammed, absolutely to the gills with Dyson dishes. And they are just sucking down those photons like crazy. And because of that, and also we've got graviton lenses in them. So this thing is the maximum amount of photons that can be absorbed by a single planet. We could maybe squeeze in a few more, but let's just say that's as big as we're going. And that is pulling down 2.59 terawatts. And there's only 3 planets in this entire system. So since we've got a maximum of 3 planets, if we get all 3 of those planets and we doll them out in the exact same build with all the exact same amount of Dyson dishes... Wait, they're not Dyson dishes. Whatever they're called. Ray receivers, that's it. Dyson dishes sounds better in my opinion, but hey, game dev's gonna game dev. If we were to cover all 3 of them, that would mean we would max out the power at 7.77 terawatts of power draw. That's the most we can ever draw from this Dyson Sphere. So I figure we take this Dyson Sphere up to about 8 terawatts, and then we stop building it. That way we should be able to, well, do the science with a little bit less lag, hopefully. Now I was hoping to have this done already, but my computer randomly rebooting all the time was causing problems until I basically updated all my drivers and firmware and BIOS again. But anyway, problem is we still have a little bit of slow speed, but that's okay. We're gonna go make ourselves our science build. We could chuck down 10,000 science on top of our current slow speeds, and then we can still let it run in the background until this is done, and then cram on a bunch more science on top of that. Right now our science is looking, well, we're pulling in 1,000 science per minute, and we've got our ore loss mining per operation. This is basically the big one. This starts at 100%, and every time you upgrade your vein utilization speed, that decreases. We're now at 1.4%. Which means we just lose tiny amounts of ore every time we mine anything, which stretches your resource supplies for, well, not quite infinity, but assuming you keep dumping all your resources into that, it's effectively infinity. But before we head off, I thought I'd introduce you to a few changes we've made to our, well, solar sail launching planet. You notice that a bunch of these are switched off. Namely because, well, we were having throughput issues. A lot of these belts had been empty back in the day, and the reason was, this thing is not really designed to pull down an awful lot. Like this here was designed to get remote demand and pull down solar sails from abroad. Then we had one more over the other side, which also was on remote demand to pull them down from abroad. And then this third one in the middle was actually remote demand but local supply. It wasn't actually hooked up to the 2 central ones, but what it would do is pull down solar sails remotely and then distribute those to the other 2 towers. And then those 2 towers distributed out to the rest of the planet. This was woefully inadequate. I don't think this was designed for people who were shipping their solar sails more than, like, in-system, let's just say. So what we did was we basically surrounded this place in solar cells remote demand, and then they locally supply to all the surrounding towers. Well, basically the only 3 towers that are requesting them. I even got this one to start distributing via transport belt to the other 2 towers. And every single one of these towers is just on remote demand, local supply, meaning they are just constantly pulling down solar sails and feeding them into the system. Now, the moment we started doing that, we started to get saturation on the lines, and then we got a massive spike in deployed solar sails, which is sort of bad. I mean, we didn't want to increase solar sail deployment because we already were consuming less than we were deploying. However, I switched off the other planet. We had the 3rd planet in the system. That one was deploying little solar sails. We turned that one off. Then I started dismantling and turning off all the solar sails launching, and at this point, we're down to half a planet launching. And still, that's actually too much. It's also one of the reasons I changed the Dyson Swarm launchers. You see, let's see, here's Swarm 1. This is where some of the solar sails were being launched by default out to this outer ring. Then what I did was, well, I realized some of them would hit over here, and then they'd have to float all the way over to the opposite side to get into their Dyson Sphere node. So I thought, why not just put them all in the center? Which is why I then went around and made these 4 rings here. So these 4 rings here are assigned out to a different quarter of the planet we're launching from, meaning all of these swarms developed because of that. And I figured because they were in the center, they'd go out and distributed to the Dyson Sphere, and it actually increased efficiency and were less time with the solar sails up and running. Ooh, would you look at that? It seems to be distributing and filling them in. Whoa. How are we only 44,786 attaching? I did remove some of the solar sails, but that's... Whoa. No, there's the full list. There's all the solar cells we're deploying and attaching. And we're still deploying more than we need. So I think what I'm going to do is shut off a few more of these. So considering this is the center point, I think I'll probably have to start up at the top up here and start disconnecting these heading backwards until our solar sail consumption equals solar sail supply roughly. Every single row is fed by 3 of these. And then there's actually a duplicate of them on the other side. I've already deleted those. So this should mean these will now start to run out. And once they run out, that will be those no longer launching. Now, I've stopped deleting them because I figure I'm probably going to overdo it at some point and have to reconnect a few. We still want to always make sure that there's always 113,000 attaching, or like this attaching is full and there's a little bit of yellow, which is the extra sails left over. I just prefer to reduce the amount of extra sails by as much as possible to give us back a few more frames. Another wonderful quality of life thing that was pointed out in the comments was this statistics panel. It shows you how much of everything is being used. For example, this GPU usage is... the GPU usage is not what's killing us. It's the CPU. This here is the main logic. It is setting us back 25 milliseconds. This here is the Dyson Sphere, setting us back 8 milliseconds. All the production lines are only setting us back 11. As in the Dyson Sphere itself is almost setting us back as much as all of our production, which is kind of crazy. Dyson Swarm itself is taking up another 7 milliseconds, almost as much as the Dyson Sphere itself. That's why I'm trying to cut down on that Dyson Swarm, and I've already cut down quite a bit. That used to be a lot larger. There's your statistics. Combat system. This is basically the dark fog. So that dark fog we're fighting, plus all the other dark fog in the system, that's only taking up about 3 milliseconds, which is less than the Dyson Swarm, by like a long shot. All production lines, there's not really much you can do. Power systems are pretty small, conveyor belts are small, sorters are actually much smaller than I expected. I think that might be I thought sorters were going to be a big issue, so no. Turns out they're actually quite minor. I mean, they're not perfectly tiny, but I mean... they're not a huge difficulty. They're not where we're looking for. Storage seems to take up a very decent bit of space as well. Transportation is quite small, but by and large it appears to be main logic. All of this stuff is nothing we can really do about that. Data-wise, this is how much RAM we're using, I presume? Huh. You know what? Doesn't matter. Give me a little bit of time to massage this so that that blue line takes up the maximum amount and the orange line takes up a smaller amount. After some very careful tweaking, we've now got the solar cell production down to about here. These are all the excess solar cells over here we're launching every... I don't know if that's done every minute or 10 minutes or 5 minutes. I don't know what the time frame is on that. But it does mean that we're not increasing the... like, once this levels out all the way across, all those excess Dyson Sphere sails above that point will be just gone. They won't exist, so we'll have far less drag on the system. Now, science. Well, okay, now that this is all locked down and we don't have to worry about this soaking up as much system resources in a bit once it eats through the backlog of solar cells that are still up and running, it's time to get up and do some science. I am really starting to get the hang of this black box design stuff, and I've made a few design choices so far. Oh, I should probably point out there was we're not running Windows 11. Hopefully my computer won't randomly crash anymore. It was putting me in mental break territory a little bit there, just randomly losing footage and things, and progress was kind of frustrating, but no crashes for a few hours now, so we're golden. Okay, let me go through some of the things we've learned along the way that is making this black box design come together so much handier. Alright, first things first, I stopped using splitters. Now, what I used to do was put down these things, right? And then what we could do is we could branch belts on and split them off as we needed. No. When I checked in here, under performance tests, turns out sorters use a lot, like 2.6 milliseconds, and splitters were using 1 millisecond. Alright, so this is 2.6 times as much damage with these splitters as we were getting with the sorters. However, we're using tens of thousands of splitters. We're using thousands of the damn things at least. We're using a fraction of the splitters. So splitters seem to use an awful lot more processing power than the splitters. So what we started doing instead is the bus is basically just a belt, and then when we want some, we just stick on a pile sorter. Pile sorters can perfectly take off as much as we, well, perfectly take it off, so they'll basically strip the belt off and dump it down here. And this actually makes things more convenient. For example, this belt over here brings along deuterium. And the deuterium comes along here, and there's 2 areas it's required in only. So this one here, we just literally have it jumping across another belt using a sorter. These pile sorters just make it easier for us to pull it off and dump them on where they're required. Or even this thing here, we've got this belt coming around, and it's bringing these pink particle containers. We're having those curve around, and then we split them off here, where half of them, well, all of them are going to get sent this direction until the belt is full. But once that belt is full, it'll back up here and fill the second one. That just means we're able to conveniently cram things in. And this... let's start with something simple. Say copper plate. All of the copper plate has been used in this section. It's no longer required. There's a whole bunch more stuff that's got to go in, but we've managed to use all the copper, all the iron, all the electromagnets, which is, yeah, these guys over here, and all the silicon. So silicon, copper, iron, and electromagnets have all been utilized completely in here. For example, the copper plate is used in the electromagnets, which is done. The copper plate is also used in these pink particle containers, which is done. The iron plate is used in these green strange matters, plus motors, plus gears, all gone. These green silicon, that is used in making these exclusively. Just these microcrystalline components, along with copper, of course. So the copper and the silicon are both completely utilized, meaning, fine, we've got to stick the blue chips and we've got to stick the green chips on the bus. Oh, and for the electromagnets, one of the last things electromagnets have to be used for was this science. So we've gotten rid of all of the magnetic coils. Magnetic coils, electromagnets, I keep calling them the two. I get them confused with Factorio a lot. But this means we've actually knocked out a whole bunch of stuff. We have a whole bunch more to go, but we've actually removed a bunch of this stuff from the bus. And when it comes to the bus, we can actually make this go up quite high. Our bus can theoretically go up to 60 tiles, is it? So 48. We can go up to an altitude of 48. What happens if we land? Does it make a difference? No, still 48. So our bus can go incredibly high, which means I could probably squeeze this up a bit more, closer to the interstellar logistics towers. Normally I left myself space for 3 layers of bus, but we don't need any of that. Let me do some more playing around here and just see how compactified we can make this. We don't need to make it too compactified, but I would like this to be, well, an example of all the things we've learned so far. My brain hurts so much. This is like trying to put together a jigsaw puzzle that... Yeah. This is like trying to put together a jigsaw puzzle at the same time as you're making the jigsaw puzzle. It just doesn't... Right. You see, over here, what we've done is... Our end goal was to get rid of iron and copper. And to do that, we had to make the strange matter, and we had to make the pink particle containers. Thankfully, the pink particle containers fed into the green strange matter, so this all worked out. But we got rid of the iron and copper off the bus. And we even managed to keep a few other things off the bus and get things nice and neat. Oh, these things could also be made using unipolar magnets. We didn't. There's just not a lot of unipolar magnets on the map, and I figured we might as well make this as easy to use as possible and not really map dependent. I'd like to have these as future usability. But this one over here was, well, a little bit different. You see, we've got this particle broadband over here, and the plan was to basically knock out the particle broadband. Purple science kind of came after that, but it was a case of, why don't we just target all the things that go into this, make sure they're all used, and then we have nothing left over, and we'll just be piping out one item. More vein utilization. But yes. So what we did there was, well, we got ourselves the energetic graphite, which went into making the plastic, which also, well, and then we also got the carbon nanotubes, and we got the green processors things over there, or the green crystal over there. Now the processors here may look like a weird choice. They shouldn't be in there. However, we need those for the science. So I figured we could knock out the processors, as all they required was green chips and blue circuit boards, or microcrystalline components. And these two, once they're used to make these processors, they're gone off the bus as well. Which means this utilizes all of those, meaning it sort of cleans up the amount of mess we've got going along on this bus, while simultaneously we can feed those processors in here, along with the particle broadband to make the science. And this red stuff over here, all it requires is hydrogen and energetic graphite. Now, there was two things that needed to come into play for this to work. One, well, we need the energetic graphite, which is used over here, and the only thing this is required for is to make the plastic, which we're using for the purple science, and for the red science. So that actually uses all the energetic graphite. That doesn't need to go on the bus. Done. But it also requires hydrogen. Now, this is where things got a bit weird. We need the hydrogen, but we're also going to need to dispose of the hydrogen we're producing. You see, the oil refinement over here that we need for the plastic produces excess hydrogen, so we've got to burn that off. And then this over here, the graphene, that also produces some excess hydrogen. But by combining both of those together, I linked them up over here. Let's say this belt. So this belt here comes along. It meets up with the output from the oil. So that's all of that hydrogen comes here and gets fed into this, into the interstellar logistics tower. Now this is still not enough hydrogen to actually make all the science we want. But we can summon in more hydrogen with this, and then using that extra hydrogen, we can, dump that in here and make sure our science works out while simultaneously disposing of all our hydrogen. Meaning this, in theory, bearing in mind, none of this has been tested. I have not pumped any resources through this yet. I am acutely aware that this could all horrifically fail, but, been doing this for a while now. Should hopefully work. But that's 3 of the sciences knocked out. Let's pick the next one and move on. This here is, this is how my brain is trying to parse this whole thing so I can figure out what I'm doing, and it's not pretty. This is not pretty at all. This here was the first build we did. There was a few revisions on that, and it wasn't nearly so neat. I've neatened this up just to demonstrate to try and make it look nice. I know it didn't work very well, but these are all of the things that got built and sort of how I built them out. This here was the second build, which get around to the purple and red science. Yeah, we've still got to do this stuff over here. Oh, this is the bus. Just ignore that. That's actually kind of messy. We can get rid of those as well. That's what actually went into the tower. I didn't even bother putting a list for what goes in the tower. And the second one, we just put them in as needed. But we've still got to do blue science, yellow science, and green science, and white science. And this is all we need to do, actually. These are the resources we need to harvest, or, well, process to make all of those. Should be pretty handy. Next up, quantum chips. And quantum chips only require this stuff down here. Plane filters, casimir crystals, titanium glass. Well, we're going to need to put water, stone, titanium, grading crystal on the onto a tower. Also, I just realized these casimir crystals require hydrogen. Yeah, no, I can rejig a hydrogen line, that's fine. But yeah, that's basically what we're going to chuck on. And because that gets us quantum chips, and that's halfway to green, we might just get graviton lenses while we're at it. I mean, all we need is those diamonds to go with it. And diamonds are, well, cheap. All you need is kimberlite ore. This is the finished product, though I'm not sure it's a good product or not. I even squeezed in a few of these battlefield analysis stations to help with the building. This is supposed to be printable. We're supposed to copy it, paste it, use it again and again type of thing. Should do 450 science? This will do 450 science. I am not sure how much science labs are going to consume that, so I've just stuck down 2 stacks. We got some research into it. It'll probably be fine. And now we have to start it up. I'm thinking first thing we'll do is we'll go straight for the the Proliferate Mark III. Then we'll worry about everything else. Photons? Nope. We're going to grab all of that stuff. As well as that, I'm proliferating the photons. It doesn't actually give you more of them, it just speeds up the production. That means we're able to cut down in some labs and squeeze this place just a little bit smaller. I kind of wish I had like 2 or 3 weeks just to work on this one project. Just take a whole bunch of time. I bet you could like trim this down a little bit. Like if we could get this just that many tiles narrower, fit it in just to there. How long is that? Ooh, about 14 tiles. If we could knock 14 tiles off the width of this thing, what we would have would be something that goes from there to there. That's actually 10 blocks, which means it would be sort of a pizza slice going up to the top of the map. Every 5 blocks you get one of these continuous lines. All the rest of them don't quite meet. But if we could slice off 14 blocks, we'd make it a pizza slice, meaning we could fit 10 of these around the top half of the planet and 10 on the bottom, which would be... Well, 10 on the top would be 4,500 science per minute on the top, 4,500 science per minute on the bottom, and yeah, that would be a very, very nifty little thing. Though yeah, I'm not going to spend that much time. You would definitely have to scrimp and save. But there is a lot of leftover space gaps here. I'm pretty sure you could squish up this a bunch. Might have to rip out some of the battlefield analysis stations here and there. But by and large, I think it's very possible. Just, I'm too lazy to do it. Well, not that, it's just... It's already taken me too long to get it down to just like the basics. Alright, once that pops in, we'll start grabbing down the rest of the resources. I just want to make sure this is proliferated to start so that we don't have to work through a backlog. To avoid using splitters, what I've done is I've used sorters. When this blue proliferate comes along, it'll get sorted off into those different lines. True, it does mean some lines will end up completely saturated. Don't care. Ah, there we go. Now once that line backs up, which will take a second, it will then go on to the next line, then the next, and the next, all the way along. Yep, there we go. Second line. That will be finished much faster than the third, then the fourth. Okay. I have no idea if this thing's going to work. That's the thing. We haven't really had a chance to do much. Well, do any testing. So this is basically, let's fire it up and see what happens. Yeah, that's fine. Oh, I just realized. I'm going to have to give this warpers. I'm going to have to give this warpers to get the deuterium. Well, one of you can do warpers. Maybe that one or that one. Now I just got to keep an eye on this whole system. Should probably go over this real quick. When it comes to science, we have been very consistent for a very long time. 1,000 science produced and consumed. In fact, for the last 10 hours, yeah. In fact, let's make that for the last 100 hours. How are we doing for 948 science for the last 100 hours? It's pretty good. So yes, rock solid science. Now we get to see what happens on this planet when the science starts to kick in, which will be a while. I'll try and go through the system and point out the little quirks of it, but for now, I'm just going to see if I can get it working and fill in any inserters I missed, maybe any lines that I did wrong, anything that might back it up or cause problems. So far, some of them have actually kicked on. Blue, red, and yellow kicked in, at least for a bit. We're still filling up the backlog. Namely because this is all running on stack inserters. Well, we're basically pulling everything off the line to go to the first set of buildings until they've got a full backlog, then the next, and so on and so forth. So you'll notice not a lot of everything, and also we're out of deuterium already. Or, nope, never mind, it hasn't come in yet. The fire ice belt was not connected. I somehow got it that far, but didn't connect it the last of the way down. Hopefully that won't cause too many problems. The excess hydrogen from that will hopefully get bled off by some of our production. If not, we have ways around that as well. You over here, you know what? We should probably turn... Yeah, we'll leave it as it is. Fire ice is also not getting proliferated. That is sloppy. Alright, with fire ice being proliferated, that will increase production. Everything else so far seems to be getting proliferated on. If you miss out on any proliferate, it basically throws off all the numbers. Pink particle containers, how are you looking? Yeah, all of your ingredients are getting proliferated. Nothing has arrived here just yet. These guys are not working because I put the wrong recipe in. I put the basic nanotubes in instead of that one. Then we just copy that over. Done. That gets production rocking. It's proliferated. That's it. Basically just run around, make sure everything's proliferated, make sure nothing's backed up, and make sure everything's getting to where it needs to go. How are you looking? Everything's proliferated new. Same again. Diamonds are done. Glass is done. Okay. We're still at... Ooh. Where's water? How come we have no water yet? I have not hooked up the water, have I? You can see here that the water is missing. So something, somewhere, is not connected. Excuse me while I go digging through the piping in here and trying to figure... Oh god, this is going to be a mess. Oh, I think I know what happened. I've got the inserters going out onto the water instead of coming in. You see, these ones are using the patented output into the center and then have it go up a level. This allows you to take one of these. It has 3 inputs, 1 output, but you can, instead of using 4 lanes, so you'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, you use 3 lanes by layering the output 2 tiles above the one below it. Unfortunately, my brain decided, hey, if we're doing that, that's also input. No, it is not. You need to... Oh god. Get in there. And is that working now? Perfect. Now I just got to repeat that with the other glass. Oh, this is going to take a minute. Perfect. All the glass is functional. You're all functional. What's working and what's not? You, let me see. Nope, you're stacked. You, how you doing? Yeah, you're processing. What about you? Nope. Alright, something's missing here. Why isn't the first purple one? Oh, one of the purples is working, the other one isn't. Ah, there's only 1 input from this. There should be a second one. Oop, right there. There, now both towers are functional. Okay, a little bit more troubleshooting. What's white missing? White is missing green. Why is green science not working? Oof. This whole place is a mess. But it's a semi-functional mess. And how have I not hooked these up? Okay, we don't have... You're not getting grav lenses or quantum chips. Ugh. Grav lenses are missing the strange matter green particle containers. The green particle containers are supposed to be coming in on that line in there, I would presume. It's really hard to see. Trying to figure this stuff out is mental. Okay, you. Where are you going? Oh yeah, you go all the way over there, and you seem to stay on the ground floor. Damn it, I can't see. Yeah, that one there. And you come back up. Yeah, I'm sorry, I know this is a horrifying mess, but it's how it was designed. You, what are you missing? There's still no deuterium? Okay, it's got to have arrived. I just must have not hooked it up correctly. 1 second. Located the problem. This is supposed to be the deuterium line. Right, okay, so that gets that flowing, which feeds into the miniature particle colliders there, which gives us the green strange matter whatever things. It should also start feeding through there once that's backfilled. Done, done, done. Now, these guys take forever to complete. But once they're done, they'll start getting fed into the green science. Oh, look at that. I forgot to feed in these guys. I mean, there was a lot of things going on. These things need Casimir crystals and titanium glass, and I never bothered to hook it up. Well, that was sloppy. Fixed that problem and kept with the next one. Turns out the Casimir crystals were not getting graphene. Turns out the graphene had backed up because we had too much hydrogen in the system. Now, I got rid of a backlog of hydrogen, but that's a problem that needs to be fixed more permanently. So, what I'm thinking is, yeah, we've got 8 storage boxes here. How about we get... That was the wrong button to push. That was also the wrong button to push. Right, replaced all of those belts. Now what we want to do is stick in a sort of a temporary storage. Will that fit? That should hopefully fit. Now, can we output to this? Might be a bit close. No, that's fine. How about from this to this? No, I think it needs to be on the ground floor. That's okay. I just thought I'd try while we were here. Anyway, you. All the way to the bottom, please. Perfect. Now, that means we have a bunch of storage here. So, if the hydrogen backs up in the system, we can store it in this. And if the hydrogen starts to run low, it gets pulled down from afar. That way we have no worries about this thing ever backing up in the system again. In theory. I mean, I'll have to run it through for a while. Okay, with that all done, are we getting... Yes, Casimir crystals are making it all the way to the end there. That means those guys should start working. I'll have to double check everything, of course. But yeah, I think we're finally getting everything through. Oh, that is white science. That is white science producing. And then it is going all the way to the end. I'm still not sure how many labs we're going to need. 375 hashes. How many hashes in a universe matrix? Doesn't actually tell you. Proliferate points 36. Yeah, my understanding is we get a 25% bonus from the proliferate, so we should normally be getting 300 hashes, but we're getting a plus 25% because we've got level 3 proliferate. So, but that's 300 hashes a second. How many seconds does it take to consume one of these things? It does not tell me. It's 50 seconds to produce them, but to consume them, no mention. Never mind. We'll have to let this spin up for a while longer and find any kinks or bottlenecks. You guys are... yeah, you're doing perfect, right? Yeah, you're full of antimatter. Green is actually almost maxed now. What's our science looking like on this planet? 260, 270 produced in the last minute. That should cap out at 450. Yeah, we'll give it some more time. We're going to let it iron out its production kinks and see what happens. Oh, power. Yep, didn't hook up enough jennies. Right. I was actually expecting this to consume an awful lot more power. I'm pretty sure our build for making rocket ships for making Dysons consumed an awful lot more power than this thing. Okay, a little bit more power. Nope, that lab is not on. That means we're short. Something somewhere is not working out. You see, we should have those 19 of these labs should be on forever. They should never actually cut out. It's supposed to be 19.1 or 19.2 is what we've got for the greens. And, well, there's 20 labs there. Which means that one there should always be active 100% of the time, and that one should flicker on and off. Found the culprit. I forgot to plug in this guy. He should have an inserter going from here to here. Perfect. Okay. Once that kicks in, we should see the greens cap out. Well, mistakes were made. Turns out I'm not proliferating the photons. So this is only working at half capacity. Yeah, there's always something. So now we're going to fix the photons. Photons. There we go. And then what we can do actually is go right over here, and I'm going to clean out the system. It's all got to go. Yeah, give me a whole fresh batch. There we are. Now we're left with nothing but critical photons that have been accelerated. Now they should be doing 45, 52. Are they going to max out at, what, 60 or something? Yeah, 60 a minute. There we go. Much better. So, 255 right now. 225 before that kicked in. Now, let's give it 10 minutes and see what happens. A rock solid 450 science per minute from this little build. And, whoa, wait, sorry, 1 second. I may have been tweaking with the numbers a bit. There we go. Much better. A little bit smoother. If you're somebody who gets motion sickness, maybe tweak that a bit so you got a little bit more movement and a little bit less UPS. You want more frames per second than production per second. Alright, this is working. And it seems to be working perfectly. There seems to be no more glitches. There was, like, all of the fixes we did, put in place, seemed to work. We could probably get rid of a few of these boxes here. I think a few of these might be a few too many, but that can wait. This needs to be blueprinted. And we should be able to blueprint the power supply that goes with it, which means I've been running some numbers here. Now, this thing it generates about 2.59 gigawatts. And if we want to cram down as many of these as we can, we're going to have to figure out how many photons and power and blah, blah, blah. So I just rounded it up to 3 gigawatts. I mean, why not? We'll just say 3 gigawatts to include the mining and stuff like that. And, you know, sundry expenses. I mean, think about it. We're using an awful lot of these inserters, like we're using these stack inserters just to pull off this belt instead of using splitters like we were before. So that's going to cost us some energy. However, we can afford it. We have a lot of photons and power being generated by this one planet right here. In fact, it's 2.59 terawatts of power draw, which is a lot. Of course, you have to do the numbers on this stuff, and I've done some napkin math. We need 3 gigawatts of power per little Blackbox 450 science per minute build. Those Blackbox builds, yeah, say 3 gigawatts. Well, we're rounding up quite a bit there, but we want to round up a lot. This is all just going to be a little bit of napkin math. These artificial stars, they generate 144 megawatts. However, because we've got them proliferated, they only last half as long, so they only last for like about 5 minutes, each one of them. But that works at about 1.2 photons per artificial sun. We have about 20.83 suns required. Well, actually, we'll round it up to 21. That's 6 antimatter per fuel rod. That's about 1.2 photons per minute for each one of these generators, which means this costs us 25.2 photons to run all the power. Of course, we are consuming like about 360 photons per minute actually generating the science, but, you know, we'll come back to that in a second. All right, we'll round up that to 26 photons. Plus the 360 science, that's 386 photons per Blackbox science build. We'll take that 386 and just round it up to 400 photons. We're doing a lot of napkin math here. We're just rounding stuff up so that we definitely are sure this is what we can hit. One of these planets, this Hellraiser planet here, this thing generates 120,384 photons per minute, assuming we could pull them all off the planet. I'm not sure we can, but we'll cross that photon bridge when we come to it. That means we can build about 300 and change, say 300 science Blackbox builds per Hellraiser. That's 450 science by 300. That's 135,000 science per minute just from this one planet. We have the potential to build 3 of those planets, which means we could potentially build 300 and actually 400,000 science per minute off of the current power generation of this one system. I don't think we're going to make it that far. I'm pretty sure the computer would scream, die, and, burst into flames. However, there's a little bit of hope, and that is, well, the Dyson shell is now up to 8.17 terawatts. We don't need to make it any bigger, and I think we can't. Hear me out on this. When this was working, or when the Dyson swarm was existing, and all the little swarms were spreading out, as in we had about 100,000 solar sails that were all spreading out from this one location to make its way to all of those little points on the up there. Yeah, see, they all had to make it to little points, and there is hundreds of these points all over the Dyson sphere, and there would always be 120 sails heading towards each one of them, and we had 100,000 and change heading. That increased the size of my save by 300 megabytes. Keeping track of all of that. Once we stopped firing solar sails and the solar sails disappeared, the save size dropped from 900 megs to 600 megs. Roughly, give or take a few megs here and there. I wasn't really caring too much. Also, the amount of frames we got back is staggering. So it turns out what was really killing us was the fact that you had 300,000 sails, or 100,000 plus sails, all trying to navigate to different points. Yeah, it turns out that's not good. That is not good at all for the game. Yeah, maybe don't do that again in future. But that means anyway that we don't need any more here, because the maximum amount of power we can draw with a single planet is, well, 2.59 terawatts. Multiply that by 3, and that's 7.77 terawatts. We're already generating more power than we could ever potentially draw from the system, because we literally don't have enough planets in the system to build enough Hellraiser planets to draw down all of the power. So yeah, we've already maxed this out. Might let it run at the end just to see for funsies. Oh, and that is one thing as well. If you go out onto the global map and you keep zooming out and zooming out and zooming out and zooming out, you load the Milky Way view. This here, I think, is all of the civilizations out there. All the seeds. Any seed you've ever seen? Yep, they're all listed out here somewhere. I don't know where we are. Damn it, where did our seed go? Damn, this guy's got 18.5 terawatts. 18.5 terawatts. You can't... wow, I'm trying to imagine how much science you could do that. 55.1 gigawatts. Now, who's got the brightest? 10 petawatts. What? Petawatts? Okay, that can't be it, right? Okay, this is us over here. We're 1.79 terawatts. The next closest is 650 gigawatts. These are people who probably took the seed, or people who had the seed before me, and the Dyson spheres they built. Wait a minute. How are we 1.79 terawatts? We're at the... We're at 8 terawatts. That doesn't make sense. Oh, wait, there's another Francis John over here. Okay, so it's got multiple ones. Right, there we go. 8.2 terawatts. Right. Anyway, enough of that. Sorry about the delay getting this out. My computer was being not friendly. I have changed it over to Windows 11. Hopefully that doesn't cause any more problems. I've managed to get all my sound software. There's a bunch of stuff I had to reconfigure, but hopefully there'll be no problems. If you have any issues with the sound or anything like that, let me know so I can make some changes. Hopefully everything should still be the same as before. In the background here, I am going to go around and start laying down science with those Blackbox science builds. I figure we should target like 100k science. 100k science seems pretty reasonable. That'll put us well below the 135, which means this one planet can support us. Then we'll just see how many frames we've got left. If we've got lots of frames, we'll keep going. If we don't, well, we'll stop. I mean, 100k science sounds pretty savage. Anyway, I'm going to cut this out here. I hope you enjoyed it. Good luck. Thank you.